The emergency lights bathed the command deck in a pulsing crimson glow as Commander Leo Blackwell fought to regain control of the Artemis IX. His knuckles whitened around the manual steering column, sweat beading on his forehead. "Ship status," he barked into the comm. The AI's usually smooth voice crackled with static. "Hull integrity at 37%. Engine 3 offline. Gravitational anomaly increasing. Recommend immediate evacuation protocols." Leo cursed under his breath. 3 years into humanity's first deep space exploration beyond the Kuiper Belt, and they'd stumbled into an uncharted gravitational distortion. The rest of the crew had already jettisoned in the escape pods, heading back toward the relay station. As captain, he'd stayed behind to transmit the anomaly's coordinates. A decision he was beginning to regret. The ship groaned, metal twisting as the unknown planet's gravity pulled harder. Through the view screen, Leo glimpsed a swirling landscape of amber clouds and emerald oceans rapidly approaching. "Plotting emergency landing trajectory," he muttered, more to steady himself than for the failing AI's benefit. "Engaging landing thrusters." The Artemis shuddered violently, then plunged through the atmosphere. Leo's world became heat and noise and chaos, ending with a bone-jarring impact that slammed his head against the console. Darkness claimed him. When Leo awoke, the first thing he noticed was the air, sweet and thick, like breathing through honey. The second was that someone was watching him. He bolted upright, immediately regretting it as pain lanced through his ribs. Through blurred vision, he made out a figure standing just outside the shattered viewscreen of his ship. "Who's there?" His voice came out rough, his throat parched. The figure stepped closer, into a shaft of alien sunlight streaming through the wreckage. Leo's breath caught. She, and despite her otherworldly appearance, something about her was unmistakably female, had skin the color of seafoam with a silvery sheen that caught the light. Her hair cascaded past her shoulders in waves that shifted between crimson and deep burgundy. Most startling were her eyes, large, almond-shaped, and entirely golden with no visible pupils. She wore what appeared to be a bodysuit of intricately woven material that resembled both technology and organic matter, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent patterns. When she spoke, the sound was like wind chimes and rushing water, utterly incomprehensible yet somehow musical. Leo raised his hands slowly, showing he was unarmed. "I can't understand you," he said carefully. "My name is Leo, Commander Leo Blackwell from Earth." The alien woman tilted her head, then mirrored his gesture, raising her six-fingered hands. Slowly, she pointed to herself. "Vieira," she said, the word sounding strange from her lips, as though she was speaking a language her vocal cords weren't designed for. "Vieira," Leo repeated, tasting the name. Is this your home?" She studied him with those unnerving golden eyes, then gestured for him to follow her. When he struggled to stand, pain shooting through his leg, she hesitated only briefly before approaching. Up close, he could see intricate patterns beneath her skin, like circuitry or elaborate tattoos that shifted with her movements. Vieira offered her arm for support, and Leo felt an electric sensation where their skin touched, not unpleasant but alien, like a gentle current passing between them. Outside the ship, Leo gasped. The landscape sprawled before them like something from a fever dream, floating islands connected by bridges of light, vegetation in impossible colors spiraling toward a sky with twin suns. In the distance, structures that might have been buildings rose organically from the terrain, pulsing with the same bioluminescence as Vieira's clothing. "Where am I?" he whispered. Vieira pointed to a symbol etched into a medallion at her throat, then swept her arm across the horizon. "Elisaria," she said, the word sounding more natural than her previous attempt at speech. A distant rumbling drew her attention, and her expression changed to one of alarm. She tugged urgently at Leo's arm, pointing to a rapidly approaching storm front that seemed to glitter with metallic particles. "That doesn't look friendly," Leo muttered. Vieira's grip tightened, and she began leading him toward a thicket of crystal-like structures. Despite the pain in his leg and the disorientation of his crash landing, Leo felt a strange sense of trust toward this alien woman. Something in her golden eyes held wisdom and compassion that transcended the barriers between their species. As the storm closed in behind them, Leo realized his mission had just become vastly more complicated than simple exploration. Somewhere between the stars and this strange new world, humanity's future had collided with his own, embodied in the silver-green hand now clasped firmly in his. For 2 weeks, Leo lived in Vieira's sanctuary, a crystalline dwelling embedded within a massive floating island. The structure seemed alive, responding to Vieira's touch by shifting walls and creating furniture from what appeared to be solidified light. Each day, his fascination with this alien world grew alongside something deeper stirring within him. Vieira proved to be an astonishing teacher. Using a combination of gestures, drawings, and a device she wore at her wrist that projected holographic symbols, she helped Leo grasp the basics of her language while learning his. Their communication remained rudimentary but improved daily. "Your people?" Leo asked one evening as they sat beside a pool of luminescent liquid that served as both light source and what he'd come to understand was a communication nexus. "Where are they?" Vieira's expression darkened, the circuitry-like patterns beneath her skin pulsing with a blue hue Leo had learned indicated sadness or concern. She pointed upward, then made a spiraling motion with her six-fingered hand. "Away in orbit," he guessed. She shook her head, then reluctantly activated her wrist device. A holographic image appeared, a magnificent city of towering crystal spires floating among the clouds. Then, with a swift gesture, she made the image vanish and placed a finger to her lips. "Not supposed to show me that," Leo said, understanding dawning. "You're hiding from them." Vieira nodded slowly, then reached out to touch his face. The electric sensation he'd grown accustomed to intensified, and suddenly he felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his own. Loneliness, fear, but also a fierce determination. "How are you doing that?" he whispered, not pulling away. She smiled sadly, then pointed to the patterns beneath her skin, which now glowed with a soft amber light. She touched her head, then his, pantomiming a connection. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. He wandered to the edge of the floating island, gazing at the twin moons overhead. The emergency beacon from his ship had been activated upon crash landing, which meant Earth might eventually send a rescue mission. The thought, once comforting, now filled him with conflicting emotions. A soft sound alerted him to Vieira's presence. She approached, her silver-green skin luminous in the moonlight, her crimson hair flowing like liquid fire around her shoulders. Without her usual protective garments, Leo could see more of the intricate patterns covering her body, beautiful, mysterious, and somehow familiar, as though they formed equations he almost recognized. "You're different from your people," he said softly, knowing she might not understand all his words but would grasp his meaning. "That's why you're alone." Vieira nodded, then pointed to the stars, then to Leo, then back to herself. She drew her fingers together, joining them. "Connection," Leo guessed, "between our peoples." She smiled, but the expression held sadness. She began to say something when suddenly the air around them vibrated. Her golden eyes widened in alarm. She grabbed Leo's hand and pulled him back toward the sanctuary. Too late, a beam of intense light speared down from above, illuminating them in its harsh glare. Vieira pushed Leo behind her protectively as a sleek vessel descended from the clouds, nothing like his human spacecraft, but rather like a shard of polished obsidian. The vessel hovered, then projected a voice, musical like Vieira's but harder, commanding. Leo couldn't understand the words, but Vieira's reaction told him everything. Her body tensed, the patterns beneath her skin now pulsing rapid red. "Your people," he whispered. She nodded once, then did something unexpected. She turned to face him, her golden eyes intense, and pressed her palms against his chest. The connection between them surged, and Leo gasped as images flooded his mind. Vieira being banished, Vieira discovering ancient technology, Vieira hiding something of immense importance. And beneath it all, a secret she hadn't yet shared, something that made her both precious and dangerous to her kind. The obsidian vessel descended lower. Vieira's hands dropped, breaking the connection. She gave Leo one last meaningful look before stepping forward to face what had come for them. The obsidian vessel remained hovering above them, its presence a silent threat. To Leo's surprise, no one emerged. Instead, a voice spoke from within, the same commanding tone addressing Vieira in her native language. Her responses were terse, her body language defensive. After what seemed like an eternity, the vessel ascended back into the clouds, disappearing as suddenly as it had arrived. Vieira's shoulders slumped, the patterns beneath her skin fading to a dull blue. "They're gone?" Leo asked cautiously. Vieira turned to him, her expression grave. She took his hand and led him back to the sanctuary at a pace that suggested urgency. Once inside, she sealed the entrance with a gesture that crystallized the opening into solid wall. "What's happening, Vieira?" Leo pressed. "What do they want from you?" She hesitated, then activated her wrist device. This time, instead of simple images, she programmed something different. A thin beam of light shot from it to Leo's temple. He flinched but remained still, trusting her. "Can you understand me now?" Her voice resonated directly in his mind, still musical but now comprehensible, the words forming in his thoughts rather than his ears. "Yes," Leo gasped. "How?" "Temporary neural link, forbidden technology." Her mental voice was strained, as though the connection was difficult to maintain. "I don't have much time. They're searching for something I've protected." "The thing you showed me in the vision, what is it?" Vieira's golden eyes shimmered with emotion. "My people once communicated with many species across the stars. We shared knowledge, culture. Then came the sundering, a war of ideologies. Some believed in isolation, purity, others in connection. The isolationists won." She guided him to the luminescent pool, waving her hand over its surface. The liquid rippled, then formed into a three-dimensional model of a complex molecular structure. "The empathy key," she explained. "Technology embedded in our biology that allows us to share consciousness across species. The ruling council ordered all keys destroyed, all records erased. They fear outside influence." "But you saved one," Leo said, understanding dawning. "That's how you're connecting with me right now." Tears formed in her golden eyes, catching the light like liquid diamonds. "I am the last keeper. My family protected this knowledge for generations. When they discovered my parents' work, they were—" She couldn't finish. Leo reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm sorry." The neural connection flickered, and Vieira winced. "The scan from their vessel confirmed what they suspected. They know I've made contact with you. They'll return with more ships, more authority." "We should leave, hide somewhere else," Leo suggested. Vieira shook her head, her crimson hair swaying. "No more hiding." She reached up, removing the medallion from her throat. Inside was a crystalline chip no larger than a fingernail. "This contains the complete genetic code for the empathy key, plus instructions for implementation across species. With it, humans and Elisarians could communicate perfectly, but it could also be weaponized to control minds rather than connect them." "Is that what they fear, or what they want?" "Both." Vieira stepped closer to him, the neural link strengthening with proximity. Her emotions washed over him, determination, fear, and something warmer, more intimate. "Leo, I've kept this secret my entire life, but I can't protect it alone anymore." He felt the weight of her confession, understood the trust she was placing in him. The implications were staggering: interspecies communication, shared consciousness, the potential for unprecedented harmony or devastating control. "You're not alone anymore," he said softly. Her golden eyes searched his, then she made her decision. Taking his hand, she placed the medallion in his palm and closed his fingers around it. "Together," she whispered, both in his mind and with her voice. As the connection between them strengthened, Leo felt the barriers between them dissolving. Not just language, but deeper understanding, her memories becoming accessible to him as his were to her. He saw her childhood, her years in hiding, her loneliness, and her unwavering belief in connection, despite everything her people had done to prevent it. And with the barriers falling away, something else blossomed between them, a feeling that transcended species, culture, even physical form. In that moment of complete vulnerability, with tears in her eyes and her secret finally shared, Leo realized he had fallen in love with this alien woman who risked everything for a principle she believed in. He leaned forward, hesitant, questioning. Vieira answered by closing the distance between them, her silver-green lips meeting his in a kiss that sent the neural connection into overdrive, surrounding them in a cocoon of shared sensation and emotion. Their future remained uncertain, but in that moment, two beings from distant stars found perfect understanding. Dawn broke with alarm. Vieira's sanctuary trembled, crystal walls vibrating as multiple obsidian vessels surrounded the floating island. Leo woke to find Vieira already activating defense protocols, her hands dancing over control surfaces that appeared at her touch. "How bad?" he asked, the lingering neural link allowing him to sense her anxiety. "The council sent enforcers," she responded, her mental voice sharp with focus. And worse, they've detected your ship's emergency beacon. Your people are responding. Leo's heart sank. Earth sent a rescue team already. Vieira nodded grimly. Your technology is more advanced than the Council realizes. Their vessels will arrive within hours. We need a plan. Leo moved beside her, studying the holographic display showing both the Elisarian vessels above and far more distantly an approaching human ship. If these groups meet without preparation. Catastrophe, Vieira finished. The Council fears outside influence. They'll perceive your rescue ship as a threat. Leo paced, mind racing. The empathy key, could we use it? Create understanding between our peoples before conflict erupts. Vieira's golden eyes widened. Implementation across an entire crew? I've never attempted anything on that scale. She hesitated, circuits beneath her skin pulsing with amber light. But perhaps a controlled demonstration. Together, they formulated a desperate plan. Using components salvaged from Leo's crashed ship and Vieira's forbidden technology, they constructed a transmitter capable of broadcasting a modified version of the empathy key's effect. Temporary, limited, but enough to establish basic understanding. As they worked, the neural link between them strengthened. Thoughts flowed freely, emotions intertwined. Leo found himself absorbing knowledge about Elisarian technology that should have taken years to comprehend. Vieira, in turn, grasped human concepts with remarkable speed. Your mind is beautiful, she told him during a brief rest, her six-fingered hand caressing his face. The sensation sent pleasant shocks across his skin. So ordered yet creative, different from ours but complementary. Leo caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. When this is over, what happens to us? The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Vieira's expression softened, the patterns beneath her skin shifting to a warm purple hue he'd come to associate with affection. I don't know, she admitted. No Elisarian and human have ever. She didn't finish, but through their connection, Leo felt her desire, her hope, and her fear that their differences might ultimately prove insurmountable. He pulled her closer, their foreheads touching. We'll find a way. Their moment of intimacy was interrupted by a proximity alert. The display showed an enforcer vessel breaking formation, descending toward the sanctuary. They're coming for me, Vieira said, straightening. The transmitter isn't ready. Leo checked their makeshift device. 10 more minutes, we need to stall them. Vieira nodded, then did something unexpected. She removed her communication band and placed it on Leo's wrist. This will protect you if we're separated. It contains my genetic signature. They won't harm someone carrying it. Before he could protest, she kissed him fiercely, then headed toward the entrance. Vieira, wait, Leo called after her. She paused, looking back with a sad smile. Sometimes, Leo, surrender is the best strategy, trust me. The crystal entrance dissolved at her command. Outside, 3 Elisarian enforcers waited, tall, imposing figures with the same silver-green skin as Vieira, but with severity etched into their features. Their crimson hair was bound tightly, and their golden eyes held none of Vieira's warmth. To Leo's shock, Vieira walked forward with head high, speaking rapidly in her native tongue. The enforcers surrounded her, producing restraints that seemed to dampen the circuitry patterns beneath her skin. As they led her toward their vessel, she cast one meaningful glance back at Leo. Through their fatting neural link, he caught a final thought. Finish it. Both sides must understand. Heart-pounding, Leo returned to the transmitter. The neural link was weakening with distance, but Vieira's knowledge remained, guiding his hands as he completed the final connections. Outside, the enforcer vessel ascended with Vieira aboard. At the same moment, his emergency communicator crackled to life. Commander Blackwell, this is Captain Alvarez of the UEN Horizon. We've locked onto your beacon, preparing for extraction in 30 minutes. Be advised we're detecting unknown vessels in your vicinity. Are you under threat? Over. Leo stared at the completed transmitter in his hands, then at the retreating Elisarian vessel. Commander Blackwell, please respond. Are you in danger? Over. He took a deep breath and activated the communicator. Captain Alvarez, this is Commander Blackwell. Situation complex. Do not engage the alien vessels. I'm implementing first contact protocols. Stand by for transmission that will facilitate communication. Over. Without waiting for a response, Leo activated the transmitter. A pulse of energy radiated outward, invisible but powerful. If Vieira's calculations were correct, it would temporarily enable basic empathic understanding between humans and Elisarians, enough to prevent immediate hostility. Now he had to reach Vieira before the effect faded. His legs still pained him, but determination pushed him forward as he limped toward his crashed ship. If he could power up the emergency shuttle, he might just have a chance to stop two worlds from colliding and save the woman he loved. The emergency shuttle sputtered to life, systems barely functional after the crash. Leo gunned the engines, pushing the damaged craft skyward. On his wrist, Vieira's communication band pulsed rhythmically, guiding him toward the Council's floating city, previously invisible, now revealed as a breathtaking metropolis of crystal and light suspended among the clouds. His communicator crackled continuously with confused messages from the horizon. Captain Alvarez and her crew were experiencing the first effects of the empathy key transmission, sudden awareness of alien emotions and fractured thoughts. Disorienting, but accomplishing what he'd hoped, caution rather than aggression. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer. Before him floated the Council city, magnificent and terrifying. Obsidian vessels surrounded it in defensive formation, but none moved to intercept him. The communication band was working. They recognized Vieira's signature. "Commander Blackwell to UEN Horizon," he transmitted. "Maintain position. I'm attempting diplomatic resolution. The transmission you're receiving is a translation interface. Use it." The shuttle docked at what appeared to be a public landing platform. As Leo emerged, he found himself surrounded by Elisarians, their golden eyes wide with surprise and curiosity. Through the lingering neural link, he sensed their confusion, their fear, but also their reluctant fascination. "I need to see your council," he announced, focusing on projecting his thoughts clearly. "I come seeking peace." To his amazement, the crowd parted. An elder Elisarian stepped forward, circuits beneath his skin pulsing with authority. "The human speaks with Keeper Vieira's voice in his mind," the elder said, the words forming in Leo's consciousness. "Unprecedented, disturbing." "Where is she?" Leo demanded. "The Keeper faces judgment for her crimes." Leo straightened, ignoring his pain. "Then I will face it with her." The elder led him through crystal corridors to a vast chamber where 7 Elisarians sat in a semicircle on elevated platforms. Before them, Vieira stood proudly despite her restraints. Her golden eyes widened when she saw Leo, joy and fear mingling in equal measure. "You shouldn't have come," her thoughts reached him. "I'll always come for you," he replied silently. The head counselor rose, his ancient face severe. "Human, you carry forbidden knowledge. You have been contaminated by connection." "I've been enlightened by it," Leo countered. "Your fear has blinded you to possibilities. Look," he gestured upward where a holographic display showed the human vessel holding position. "My people could have attacked from ignorance. Instead, they wait. They listen because of what Vieira preserved." A murmur ran through the chamber. Leo felt the shift in the collective consciousness, doubt, consideration. "Even now," he continued, "your emotions reach me. I understand your fear of losing identity, of being overwhelmed by outside influence. But connection doesn't mean submission." Vieira stepped forward despite her restraints. "Honored council, for generations we've hidden diminished. Once we were beacons of knowledge across the stars. The empathy key was never meant to erase differences, but to celebrate them through understanding." The council deliberated in silence, their thoughts shielded even from the neural link. Finally, the head counselor spoke. "The arrival of humans was foretold in ancient texts. Some believed it would herald our destruction, others our rebirth." He fixed his golden eyes on Leo. "Which will you bring, human?" Leo moved to stand beside Vieira. "Neither, only the opportunity for change if you want it." "And if we refuse?" "Then we respect your choice, but know that isolation is a temporary defense. The universe continues whether you participate or not." Hours passed in negotiation, the neural link facilitating understanding where words failed. Eventually, an agreement emerged, tentative, fragile, but hopeful. The human vessel would be permitted to send a small delegation. Cultural exchange would begin, cautiously controlled. The empathy keys technology would be studied by joint teams, with safeguards against weaponization. As for Vieira, her status as keeper would be honored rather than punished, though she would bear responsibility for teaching proper implementation of the technology she had preserved. When the formal proceedings concluded, Leo and Vieira found themselves in a crystal garden overlooking the edge of the floating city. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in hues of amber and emerald. "You took an enormous risk," Vieira said softly, her restraints removed, her six-fingered hand intertwined with his five-fingered one. "Worth it," Leo replied, watching the circuits beneath her silver-green skin pulse with the purple hue of affection. "What happens now?" Vieira turned to face him fully, her crimson hair catching the fading light. "The Council has appointed me as official liaison to humans. I'd need a human counterpart." "Convenient," Leo smiled. "I happen to be seeking a new assignment." "It would mean dividing your time between worlds," she cautioned. "Neither fully human nor Elisarian society, but something in between, challenging." Leo reached up to trace the delicate patterns beneath her skin. "I crashed on this planet expecting to find emptiness. Instead, I found you. Everything else is just details." Vieira's golden eyes shimmered with emotion. Through their connection, words became unnecessary. The bond between them, impossible, unprecedented, yet undeniable, would become the first bridge between their peoples. As the final rays of the twin suns disappeared, Vieira leaned forward to kiss him, her silver-green skin luminous in the gathering darkness. The neural link between them surged, not with urgent information or strategic thoughts, but with something far simpler and more profound, a shared vision of possibilities stretching before them like the stars themselves. Two beings from different worlds, their tears of fear transformed to tears of joy, whispering promises between the stars.